And then the next call, and this is gonna sound weird to the everyday person, but the next call was a suicide. There's no fever cough, so it's like, oh, a regular call, so to speak. And it's like, to feel relief in the middle of this tragic death. I mean, this is somebody who felt hopeless enough to go and commit suicide. You still have the empathy for him and whatnot, but hey, we're gonna get through this one without getting infected by anything. And then I hit the button. The button shows that I'm available, and I'm on my way to another cardiac arrest.
I've never had a panic or an anxiety attack, and I feel like one is gonna come on really soon.
This is another paramedic in New York City I'm calling Cassandra. She didn't want me to use her real name because she didn't get permission from the fire department to talk to me. I've been checking in with her regularly over the past few weeks, and she's processing her days differently than Anthony. Because she's not a lieutenant, she spends her entire 12-hour day in an ambulance. I talked to her recently after she'd finished one of her shifts. She'd gotten home at 3 a.m. and took a bubble bath to try and calm down, but it didn't work.
How much more worse than this can it get, Like, we're at worst to me. This is my worst. Like, I did 37 cardiac arrests last week. I told somebody, I'm sorry for your loss, 37 times last week.
37 times, I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah, and I don't think I've ever done that in a year, like 37 cardiac arrests. That's insane to me. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. Like, my soul hurts. I'm not used to seeing all this death all at once. Like, I'm a person, like, I'm very strong-headed, so it's just like, if I see death, it's like, okay, this happened. I process it quick, and I'm like, I deliver my message to the family, and it's like, damn, that was messed up, and I move on. It's not like it sticks with me for a while, and right now that's not the case. I'm holding each and every one of them in because I don't have time to just put it away.
I was wondering, are there any particular calls that stick with you right now?
There was actually one cardiac arrest that I had last week that wasn't COVID related, but the guy was 107 years old and he was fighting. He really wanted to live, and I was shocked at that. And that kind of made me a little bit happy because I thought we were gonna get him back. We didn't. We pronounced him at the end, but he was fighting. He really wanted to live.
What do you fear most right now? Like, what's the fear that's on your mind this morning?
I'm a ticking bomb. Like, if I don't start, dealing with stuff, I'm gonna blow up on my partner or on somebody, and God forbid that's on a patient, because I don't want to be mean to somebody that just lost a loved one. You know what I mean? I don't know how I'm gonna react to not dealing with all this death, constantly.
Do you have a plan?
I don't have time to make a plan.
Anthony, when I talked to you last, it was very hard having to deliver news to people and not being able to comfort them, having to keep a distance. And so, I talked to you about a little over 2 weeks ago, and I'm wondering, has that gotten easier for you? Have you readjusted?
No, it's not easier. And to be honest with you, I don't want it to be easy. If it gets easy for me, that means maybe I'm suffering from a little emotional fatigue. I'm burning out. If I still feel sadness, that's a good thing. I mean, it sucks, but it's a good thing. It means I'm still feeling. In my head, I try and remember that the sun does come out the next day. And I know that sounds corny, but it's it's awfully cloudy at the moment.
Yeah.
But the thing that's hard about this is, as a medic, you are eternally hopeful in the face of fighting death every day. Because even if you didn't get them this time, you know that the next time you will, right? But this virus out here, this pandemic, we're not getting them next time.
Right now, about 15% of the emergency medical service workers for the New York Fire Department are out on sick leave. At least 3 are in the ICU on ventilators, and one longtime worker, a watch commander in downtown Brooklyn named Greg Hodge, died earlier this week from COVID. Anthony took this news hard. He says Greg is the one who trained him when he first came on the job.
Nikki Meek is one of the producers of our show. Just a program note after that story: if you or somebody you know might need help, the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is available 24/7 at 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. By the way, the EMS unions in New York City have been in a dispute with the city government. The starting pay for an EMT in New York is roughly $35,000. Paramedics start at $48,000. And when the pandemic started, they asked for hazard pay, since they were putting their lives on the line in a way that was more than usual. And also for better benefits for their families if they should die on the job. They have gotten nowhere with this. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio has said he will look into it, but not until the crisis is over.
Excess consumes you. He says, oh no, what have I done? Don't lose what moves you. Go ahead, call me when this is done.
Our program is produced today by Robin Semyon. Interpreters who helped us with our story in Act 1, Samarjan Saidi and Nasir Siddiq. Esther Perel's podcast, Where Should We Begin, that we talked about at the top of the show, is now available on Spotify and any other platform where you get your podcasts. Special thanks today to Darren Byler, Max Balkas, David Brophy, Souvenir Umer, Rukiye Tersoon, Rushan Uyghur, and Kayla Gabler. Our website, thisamericanlife.org. This American Life is delivered to public radio stations by PRX, the Public Radio Exchange. Support for This American Life comes from Constant Contact, with email marketing tools to help small businesses build their brands online, customizable email templates, an email editor, and now a website builder. More at constantcontact.com. For Progressive Insurance, offering way-to-buy home insurance with our Home Quote Explorer tool. Custom quotes and rates are available online. Learn more at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE. Now that's Progressive. Thanks, as always, to our program's co-founder, Mr. Troy Nalatia. While on lockdown these last few weeks, he's been working on his relationship. His wife has an old Al Green record that they like to snuggle to.
It's an accelerator. It's a relationship accelerator.
I'm Ira Glass. Back next week with more stories of This American Life.
Support for NHPR comes from you, our listeners, and from Meridian Construction, building relationships in residential education and healthcare construction while encouraging all to remain hopeful, resilient, and NH strong. MeridianNH.com. And from the law firm of Rath, Young & Pignatelli, serving clients at the intersection of business and public policy. National impact, uniquely New Hampshire. On the web at rathlaw.com. This is NHPR.
These are the stations of New Hampshire Public Radio.
WEVO, Concord, 89.1. WEVS, Nashua, 88.3.
WEVH, Hanover, 91.3.
WEVN, Keene, 90.7. WEVC, Gorham, 107.1. WEVJ, Jackson, 99.5.
WEVF, Colebrook, 90.3.
And WEVQ, Littleton, 91.9.
And online at nhpr.org.
This is the TED Radio Hour. Each week, groundbreaking TED Talks.
Our job now is to dream big.
Delivered at TED conferences.
To bring about the future we want to see.
Around the world.
To understand who we are.
From those talks, we bring you speakers and ideas that will surprise you.
You just don't know what you're going to find.
Challenge you.
We truly have to ask ourselves, why is it noteworthy?
And even change you.
I literally feel like I'm a different person.
Yes.
Do you feel that way?
Ideas worth spreading. From TED and NPR. I'm Manoush Zamarodi. Coming up.
I've carved out this little niche for myself on the internet as an inventor of useless machines.
How would you be if you thought everybody loves classical music, they just haven't found out about it yet?
In other words, when it comes to laughter, you and me, baby, ain't nothing but mammals.
On the show today, pure joy. First, the news.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Barbara Klein. A protest against stay-at-home orders is due to get underway this hour in Austin, Texas. It's the latest of several such demonstrations organized by far-right groups. NPR's Amy Held reports President Trump is signaling encouragement for the protests, even as his public health experts continue to call for social distancing.
The conspiracy theory website InfoWars is behind today's You Can't Close America rally at the Texas state capitol. Governor Greg Abbott says he is ready to begin the process of easing restrictions. Some businesses in Texas may reopen as early as later this month. Public health experts, however, are warning a premature return to normal life will worsen the spread of the virus, especially before improved access to testing. Meantime, mixed messaging from President Trump, whose phased plan for reopening the country leaves the decision to governors. Then Trump tweeted, "Liberate Minnesota, Michigan, and Virginia, where protesters have been gathering en masse against the Democratic governors issuing stay-at-home orders." Amy Held, NPR News.
Ohio Republican Governor Mike DeWine says stay-at-home protesters in his state have every right to demonstrate, but he says he's going to continue restrictions to protect Ohioans and the state's medical institutions. 2 walk-through testing centers open in Broward County, Florida today for people who don't have cars. Veronica Zaragovia reports.
Each site will start with 200 tests a day for pedestrians with COVID-19 symptoms, regardless of age or travel history, according to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Dr. Jermaine Smith-Baugh of Broward County's Urban League says she pushed to get more testing for underserved communities.
I pounded this drum related to a walk-up site because, like you, I would have been the child of a family who would have needed this type of access.
One center is in a historically black neighborhood of Fort Lauderdale. The Florida National Guard will help run the 2 walk-through sites. The state's health department says cases in Florida increased this week and are now nearly 24,800. For NPR News, I'm Veronica Zaragovia in Miami.
Police in Hong Kong arrested several prominent pro-democracy activists today, suspected of participating in unauthorized protests last year. As NPR's Emily Fang reports, the arrests are part of a slow crackdown on the pro-democracy movement.
Among the veteran pro-democracy organizers arrested are media mogul and activist Jimmy Lai and former lawmakers Oh Na-kin, Martin Lee, Albert Ho, and long-hair Leung Kwa-kung. Beijing and Hong Kong's politicians have clashed as Beijing chips away at the city's civil liberties and independent judiciary. Protests against an extradition bill with China roiled the city for months last year, but fizzled out as the coronavirus pandemic continues to spread.
This is NPR. Congressional lawmakers are negotiating a Trump administration request to add $250 billion to the initial Paycheck Protection Program's $350 billion. It was designed to cover 8 weeks of payroll expenses for small businesses, but it ran out of money on Thursday. The coronavirus has not stopped a centuries-old Christian tradition today in Jerusalem. But as NPR's Daniel Estrin reports, the Holy Fire ceremony wasn't entirely like years past.
The Greek Orthodox Patriarch in Jerusalem enters the inner sanctum of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, where tradition says Jesus was entombed and resurrected. Moments later, the Patriarch emerges waving lit candles. The Holy Fire is said to appear miraculously. Usually thousands of pilgrims attend the ceremony every year, the day before Easter Sunday on the Orthodox Christian calendar. This year, only a few clergy attended, some wearing masks. The ceremony was broadcast live. Motorcades set off to bring torches to Orthodox communities in neighboring Jordan, the West Bank, and Gaza. And despite most air travel being canceled, 10 special flights are taking off, carrying the Holy Fire to Russia, Ukraine, Greece, Cyprus, Georgia, Romania, Moldova, Belarus, Poland, and Kazakhstan. Daniel Estrin, NPR News, Jerusalem.
And I'm Barbara Klein, NPR News in Washington.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include the Abe and Ida Cooper Foundation, commemorating Fred Cooper by supporting public radio programming that highlights issues including diversity, racism, equality, anti-Semitism, and sexism, and the Annie E. Casey Foundation.
Good Saturday afternoon. It's 1:06 at NHPR. Stand by for the TED Radio Hour. Support for NHPR comes from you, our listeners, and from New Hampshire camps. Summer camps and summer learning for every child day and sleepaway choices aiming to develop independence, confidence, and responsibility. nhcamps.org. This is NHPR.
It's the TED Radio Hour from NPR. I'm Manoush Zamarodi. And on the show today, pure joy. TED Talks that spark the most pleasure, delight, and frankly relief from thinking about COVID-19 for this woman.
My name is Helen Walters, and I am the head of curation at TED.
Helen has handpicked a selection of TED speakers for you. Some of them have been on the show before, but others you'll be hearing about for the first time. All of them will surprise, inspire, and maybe even soothe you. Because as we spend our days muddling through this tough period, lots of us might be feeling discouraged, depleted. So let's take a break from the all-consuming headlines and treat ourselves to some more therapeutic ideas and emotions. And let's begin by getting to know TED's lovely and incredibly sharp Helen Walters and understanding her criteria for joy. Okay, so Helen, I am coming...